Welcome to Mad Men, a podcast dedicated to recapping and analyzing the AMC series Mad Men from the perspective of three wildly different types of watchers. We've got someone watching the show for the very first time, somebody else who is rewatching for the first time since the series ended back in 2015. And then there's me, Jon Negroni, and I don't podcast with anyone at all. All I do is watch this show. Joining me, as always, is Will Ashton, our first-time viewer. And Will, I forgot you, and then I podcasted with you in the New York Times Sunday magazine. And of course, we have Mike Overhulse, our first-time rewatcher. And Mike, why do you want us to take a look at your apartment so badly?
John, did you tell Will about your first co-host, Adonis?
First one? What do you mean? Adonis wasn't my first co-host.
I mean, technically, Mike would be a co-host before me, so...
Yeah, Mike's before you, Adonis is before Mike, and Maria was before Adonis.
So does that make me, Megan, and Mike Betty?
You're pretty far down the line for Megan. I feel like Mike is more Megan, if anything else.
Jeez.
Got so many actual real life and fake life things mixed up. I thought you were talking about my ex-girlfriend, Megan.
Wow. Yeah, no, never podcasted with her. There's a name I haven't. Today, we are talking Dark Shadows, which is episode 9 of season 5. We are a good bit past the halfway point in Mad Men, season 5, I should say, and the series as a whole. Episode 9, Dark Shadows, a clear reference, of course, to the TV show. Funny enough, the movie was coming out around the time that the episode was coming out, which was just like a stroke of weird timing. Apparently, it wasn't really planned or intentional. But anyway, Scott Hornbacher, executive producer of the show, directed the episode. Aaron Levy, longtime writer of the show, wrote the script for this one, and it came out in May 13, 2012. A bit of a ratings dip from last week. Last week was 229 million. This week is 2.13. So a little bit of a decline, especially since the first episode of the season was like 3.54. And it's just been kind of going down ever since. But all right, guys, we'll start with Will. Mr. Will.
Has it been declining because there's been a conspicuous lack of Lane in these episodes?
Has not been much Lane at all. He's barely shown up. He was in the Little Kiss. He wasn't even in. He didn't do much in both Little Kiss episodes, which was 1 and 2. He was mostly in the second episode where he had his little, tu-da-ta. I don't know, something.
I mean, the last time we saw him, it was when he
slugged Pete.
Yeah, I was going to say he beat the snot out of Pete.
That's all he had to say after.
And that was like 4 episodes ago, so.
He dropped the mic and then, because that was Signal 30, which was 4 episodes ago, yeah. But yeah, Will, so this is your first time watching this episode. And thankfully, we've been able to record a little bit more often. So you're actually watching these closer together, which is nice. But yeah, how would you compare Dark Shadows to our episode last time, which was Lady Lazarus?
Well, speaking of the last episode, I just have to say it's nice that Mike is back. I'm sorry that his acting career didn't pan out, but...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I think, maybe he keeps at it. There might be something happening in the future.
Were you the one he was doing lines with, Will, where he was making fun of... Yeah.
Sorry you sit in your tower all day long, Will, while I'm out there trying to get work and pay for myself in the harsh city we call Waterloo.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about how, the Long Walk has your doppelganger, Cooper Hoffman, and then David Johnson. Is that the guy from Rye Lane that's in that movie as well? And people are talking about how they're going to be the new hot team up. And I was like, oh, there's a new Miami Vice movie, But
Somebody
apparently
better get
not...
Mike on the horn before Cooper Hoffman finds out.
Well, I was going to say, it doesn't sound like Cooper's going to be in it, so we have to get you and I don't know who your co-star would be, but I think you got, the stuff for a
Mike,
new Miami Vice.
if you need a Hawaiian shirt, I know a guy.
Yeah, I know.
He's right here in the room with us.
Guys, I have to say, I know I'm the Hawaiian shirt guy. I went to see Weird Al, and I totally forgot to wear a Hawaiian shirt. I'm so ashamed of myself
It's
for that.
okay. I just figured you were trying to break up the formula a little bit.
No, I was very mad at myself.
Do you mind sharing with the viewers what you're wearing right now? Because I think it actually might be my favorite shirt I've ever seen you wear.
I can't even see it. It's cut off.
It's Garfield on the cross, and it says Mondays, where the Latin lettering is on top of his head. Wow. He's wearing a crown of thorns.
It's definitely one of your more blasphemous shirts, I'll tell you that much.
And he's bleeding from the feet.
Wait, why do they have to put him in the crown of thorns too? They really went for the whole shebang.
Well, that's the trials and tribulations of Mondays for Garfield.
Crucifix.
Yeah. Pookie-affix, I guess.
Well, I'll try one more time. Will Ashton, what did you think of Dark Shadows? First
well,
time viewer.
Now that we've officially offended all of our Christian listeners, I would say that I was looking at the reactions after the fact, and I saw that they were kind of negative compared to the rest of the season. And I
Emily
was
St. James gave it a B and was like, this is probably the weakest episode of the season. What are you going to do?
Which surprised me because I thought it was a good episode. I didn't think it was the best, but I would put it above Tea Leaves, I think, which I felt was a weaker episode by and large.
Emily St. James literally said that Tea Leaves was the better episode. And she directly compared them because we haven't seen Betty Draper since Tea Leaves.
Right.
And this, she was dealing with, January Jones was dealing with her pregnancy around this time. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, I think one complaint I have had about Mad Men, and I don't know if I've really voiced this that much, but it is a show that in its literary fashion can be a bit arch. For as much as it does have sort of open-ended conclusions and it's better episodes and has such tight framing, it can be, a little pat in some of its structuring and formats. And I think that is a little bit more apparent here than in typical episodes. And I think that's maybe what people are responding to and pushing back against. But I still feel like the wittiness and the clever plotting wins out in the end. And I don't think it's a necessary demotion against the other episodes. I think it still feels pretty tight and compact, and it doesn't feel especially forced to me in a way that I feel like a lot of the criticisms suggest that it is. But there are a few moments I do think feel, I think they feel a little writerly, I guess, in their structuring. I think certainly, it maybe puts too fine of a point on it in the last couple scenes where Dawn is looking outside and he's going to open the window. It's just no.
Don't let Betty poison us from 50 miles away,
right.
Dawn.
The air is
the
toxic.
Smog.
Right. And then having, Bobby kind of announce the themes of the show at the dinner table at Thanksgiving. I think it's clever to do a Thanksgiving episode where nobody's thankful about anything they have. I think that's kind of a funny and smart, clever idea for an episode. And I do kind of getting to see a lot of these characters that we don't see as often this season kind of come into play and kind of see a lot of the burning resentments move in. And like you suggested, the fact that the episode is named after a kind of infamous soap opera known for its sort of outlandishness and stuff. I kind of like that this has sort of melodramatic tendencies, but it's also kind of downplayed and moody and a little bit more character focused. It's not quite as outlandish as that title would suggest, but yeah, I don't know. I liked it overall. I feel like it's maybe a little overly criticized.
Yeah, and we're going to turn it, of course, over to Mr. Mike. But I will say that, yeah, a lot of the criticism, I would say this. If there is an episode of Mad Men where you could give this episode to the average person, they would have a much easier time parsing out all the different themes in the subtext because it's a little bit more obvious than usual. And that's not a bad thing, though. I think that it's actually kind of interesting of here's what Mad Men is like when it's slightly less pretentious and it's a little just a bit more to the point and its theming and all of that. And I can see then why critics were revolting a little bit, a tiny bit. But Mike, do you agree or how are you feeling about this episode? Rewatching it?
Do agree with you, John, is that Mad Men should have episodes for dumb people. And I'm glad you bring this up.
For people who don't read the New York Times Sunday magazine or enjoy New Yorker cartoons.
I mean, I don't even read the cartoons. I make up the captions myself. But yes, I agree. Not everybody is as intelligent as us and can understand the complex names. I feel like I'm typically pretty positive. I think if you made a spreadsheet of every episode we've done and you just listen to the first sentence of every review of mine, it's, I like this one. But I gotta say, not the biggest fan of this one.
All right.
I almost
Mike's
wish
got heat.
I almost wish it was I'm blanking on the name of it. I think it's the season 2 holiday episode that's episodic, and where it's just a collection of 4 short stories, all with the same themes. It's Betty has the long conversation with Tom Hanks' son. Do you know what am I thinking of?
You mean Peggy?
Yeah, Peggy's the one that talks.
What did I say, Peggy? What did I say, Betty?
Yeah, so it's 3 Sundays, I think you're talking about. It's Easter.
Exactly.
Not Christmas.
Easter. Yeah. I just said holidays. I don't know if I said. Anyways, I wish it was almost more like
I heard
that.
holiday. I was saying Christmas. Yeah.
Because they are so related and so heavily thematic that it could have. I think I would have enjoyed it more if it was each of like its own contained short story, one by one, instead of like your classic Mad Men mix of intertwined storylines and jumping from plot A to B to C. I think that's maybe just a little bit more interesting storytelling for something as straightforward as this. But yeah, I don't know. I found myself not, especially on a rewatch, being like, fuck, okay, I guess. I mean, I also gotta say, like, probably the worst of all the highly memed Mad Men episodes, gotta be the worst one.
Wait, why do you say that?
Well, see,
Do
I
you
feel
just
like,
mean you're saying of like of all the episodes that get a lot of meme out of them?
Yeah.
This is I see what
yes,
you're saying. Okay, I got you.
exactly.
I
Well-
mean,
Okay.
it's definitely in the top 3 most famous memes from the show, right? The I don't think about you at all.
Yeah,
Line.
that one, that's what the money is for.
Yeah, those 2 are the big ones.
And I think, and then it's drunk.
Not great, Bob,
drunk-
but you haven't gotten to that yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, the drunk pitch. Yeah.
Drunk
yeah,
pitch
the drunk
is
pitch
big.
is up there.
and then John Hamm or Don in the movie theater really leaned in for a movie.
Yeah,
But yeah, that one's really picked up of late, I feel like.
that one's been a big 2025 one.
And I don't know what episode that one's from exactly, because it's kind of hard to tell.
We might not have gotten to it yet.
Really? Okay.
Could be. Yeah, I mean, I'll double
We have
check.
not gotten to it.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't.
that's interesting. I thought we did. I thought we talked.
Spoilers alert, Don sees a movie.
Oh, wow. During work? Surely he does it during his free time and not when he's on the company hour.
Whoa, Will, be cool. Yeah, I know the last time we watched Dawn at a movie, I'm pretty sure was when he was with Lane last season for Christmas or New Year's rather. And then we did earlier this season see Peggy at the movies with that guy. That was the last like kind of short story episode where we had the vignettes, the Rashomon thing.
That's a rare time where they see a movie with a happy ending.
There you go. It did end with Peggy washing her hands. Okay, so as usual, I listened to the commentary. So there were 2 sets of commentaries. The first was with Matthew Weiner and Aaron Levy. And it's always kind of nice listening to those 2 because they kind of do have like a Dawn and Peggy dynamic where Aaron is kind of like, you can tell that she's a big creative force behind the show and kind of shadows Weiner a bit in terms of like, all right, you're the showrunner, but like I'm kind of your protege, I guess. That's kind of how it's come across in a lot of these episodes.
I mean, I was just going to say, considering that many of the episodes, and I know that Matthew Weiner has a big hand in every episode, but like considering that he has been credited or co-credited for nearly all the episodes this season, I do think it's a show of his confidence of Aaron Levy that she's the sole credited writer of this episode.
Right. Because, her other co-writing credit was Tea Leaves, episode 3. And she hasn't done a solo writing on the script since Chinese Wall, which was episode 11 of season 4. So it does happen. Like she did 2 episodes on her own last season. This season is the only one where she is solo. But I mean, the thing to remember, like you're mentioning, is that the writer's room is so dynamic and so many people are pitching ideas. So like, somebody has to get the credit on the script, but in the commentary, they were going back and forth about like, oh yeah, you pitched this thing. And it was like, oh, it was your idea to bring this in. One of Aaron Levy's big pitches that she brought in was the whole Manischewitz ad, which was something they'd been wanting to work in for a while. And it was around here, but she actually, I think she said it like her uncle or great uncle was the one who came up with that ad in real life. And they were able to, like she got his permission and everything to do the ad, and he was super honored. But of course, in Mad Men, it was apparently Ginsburg who came up with it. And then on top of that, so that was the first commentary, and the second commentary, which is Ben Feldman who plays Ginsburg, Jessica Paré who plays Megan, and Kierna Shipka who plays Sally. Jessica Paré comes in and says, "Oh yeah, I'm related to a Manischewitz," or like apparently like someone in her family, she's like descended. Like somebody in her family married somebody from Manischewitz. So like, yeah, Manischewitz is all over Mad Men. Mad Manischewitz. That's this episode. That's what they should have called this title instead of Dark Shadows.
You should have made that your name for the recording. I'm disappointed in you. What was
My
it?
bad.
Jon Negroni.
Oh yeah. Anyway, listening to the commentaries was super fun, and there was something that stuck out to me about something, and it kind of crystallizes my thoughts on the quality of the episode. This is a very ensemble episode, and Weiner kind of was clear about that. It's like this is more ensemble than usual. It's a lot of interconnecting storylines, and not necessarily this like Draper has the A plot, and then we have the B plot going to Ginsburg. It's not really like that. Everybody's kind of orbiting each other around a theme. and it's the ensemble orbiting the theme. And I think that's a big reason why this episode's not everybody's favorite. And my take on it is I think it's a very memorable episode, obviously, because there's so many good lines. Like, not just, the big famous one in the elevator, but there's a bunch of really good ones. The way that Sally is like trying to act more adult. It's like, are you gonna go cry? Like, there are just so many like bangers of lines in this episode.
I love, and I'm gonna butcher because I don't remember exactly, but Dawn talking to Pete over the phone and being like, "Don't call him me and talk about your failures."
Yeah.
Just saying it. That's a great line.
Yep. And you know what it is about this episode? I think that the idea behind it is cool, and the way they talked about it, Weiner and Levy. Weiner was like, when we were coming up with the theme of the story, it's like, what is this about, right? And his thing was that it's not really just about envy, it's about what envy does to the envied. So it's like how somebody who's envious can ruin the life or infiltrate the life of somebody else. So episodes exploring that. And I thought that was interesting. And then he's like, that's the thing you got to do with TV shows is you got, people will pick up that it's about people who are jealous of each other, but then you have to take it a step further. And my thinking was, but how far did you really take it? Because you arrived to your thematic conclusion that yes, like the envied suffer this kind of thing, or, something bad's going to happen to them because somebody's jealous of them. But then what? I feel like the episode just kind of hangs it there. I think it's like it's missing something for me.
I mean, to me, it just kind of feels like a spider web of pettiness. Like
Mhm.
you got Dawn in the center here, just constantly feeling neglected and sort of wanting for this attention that he used to have, not really feeling in control of the narrative. And then that kind of spirals out. And now Betty's trying to like one up Dawn and Megan, and Cooper's trying to one up everybody. And you got Peggy being annoyed now, and then you got Ginsburg feeling jealous. And it just kind of, it's almost like a snowball effect. It just kind of feels like everybody is constantly getting angrier and angrier.
Wait.
Meanwhile-
Say that again. Snowball effect?
Oh, yeah, I didn't make that 2 and 2, but that's funny.
Oh, hit me in the face with a snowball, why don't you?
Sure.
I think to the point of like the web of pettiness, it's a good way to describe it. Maybe like it's like the heart of why I don't really care. I shouldn't say that. Why I don't find this to be as interesting as an episode. It's like they're always petty. Like we're not really diving into anything new here. In fact, I would say that like every single you can find multiple characters in every single episode of Mad Men being petty.
You're like, what is this, Desperate Housewives?
No, I hear that. I think that's why it's like there are things I like about this episode, and it's a breezy watch to be sure. But I think that's why when I really look at how insecure everyone's feeling, I'm waiting for that step further. Like, what's the thing that's going to break? It is weird too, because we're at episode 9, and like usually things are progressing a little more at this part of the season, and there is still some ambiguity around like what is this all leading toward. Obviously, for Will, he has no idea. For me and Mike, it's like we kind of know, but I don't know. There is a little. I was left feeling wanting. I didn't have that feeling, Mike. I don't know if you were feeling it, but I wasn't feeling like I want to see the next episode really badly. That's kind of how I knew that this was a mixed one for me.
Yeah, I think maybe a good way to put it. I just also just felt like I don't know. I think in a lot of good episodes of Mad Men, there is maybe like that second or third beat that you're just like, yeah, it hits you and you understand like, wow, like there's layers to this. This just felt so one note. It like, I don't know, just over the top single note that just made you like, it gives you that feeling of eating too much, maybe. And just like, bleh, I gotta take a break.
What
here.
a segue into Weight Watchers.
I was just going to say, I don't know, and I probably made some sort of analogy like this before, but I think there are shows, like Breaking Bad, they're like beer shows where you just want to keep drinking. Like you're like, I crushed that one, I want to drink another one. Like the episodes are so bingeable. It's literally like meth. You're just kind of
Will, is
like,
there something you want to talk to us about?
Sure.
The way you described that.
Will,
but
that Breaking Bad is for dumb people. But keep going.
No. I love Breaking Bad, and I think for
maybe
me,
do you love it a little too much, Will? Because when you were describing that beer, you sounded like you just wanted.
He's addicted.
Oh man, but no. What I was gonna say, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast as a first-time viewer is that I always felt like Mad Men was the type of show that's like a fine aged whiskey. Like you don't, chug it. You want to like sniff it, savor it, kind of let the taste kind of linger in the back of your throat.
In our case, savor for months and months and months. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let it age more and more over time. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know. I never really get that sense of what you guys are talking about where I'm like, I need to watch the next one. I always feel like I want to be like, let me read about this. Let me talk about it on a
We're
podcast.
just different then, yeah. Because I
Yeah.
feel like I've always had that with this show. But I mean, if you didn't, then that's
I don't know. It just
valid.
It just feels like these episodes are like, like so thematically dense and stuff like that I'd rather kind of take the time to kind of break them down and
Mike, I think he's calling us
compartmentalize, yeah.
dumb and impatient.
It's like all my friends are always like, bro, can we not talk about the socioeconomic state of the world right now?
Can you take a breather, bro? Can you read a book?
That was a Jaden Smith meme, by the way.
Okay.
Hey, Will,
What's
you
that?
made a little bit of a crack in the group chat about the New Yorker and cartoons in the New Yorker.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to elaborate on that and tell us why you hate them so much?
I know Peggy is known for kind of saying a lot of outlandish and maybe short-tempered things.
She's a barnstormer. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. But she said, you know how everyone loves the New Yorker cartoons. And I feel like the main thing that everyone agrees about with New Yorker cartoons, maybe they're a lot better in the 60s, is that they're always overly opaque and not very funny.
You mean opaque?
Sorry, opaque. It's one of those words I always read but I never often say. So I always
it's the
mispronounce
letter
it.
A. Where did you get peak?
Opaque.
Yeah, it's not spelled anyway. I'm being elitist. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Talking about me talking down to people and you're like,
no, I'm trying to be petty like people in this episode. That's what this episode does. It makes you pettier.
You're like, you're not making fun of the New Yorker well enough.
Yeah. Why would you come after the New Yorker like this and then do it poorly? But yeah, I just thought that's actually a decent segue. I was going to do the Weight Watchers thing. But let's just talk about the ads. Let's talk about these two ads because you have the one where Don, he sees that Ginsburg has done the hit me with the face and the snowball thing. He knows right away that that's the one that Ginsburg is probably going to pitch because it catches his attention. And then he has that late night session where he's coming up with ads and it's terrible. There's a part where you think he's saying, I thought he said, that's not bad. But I think he's just saying like, not that. And it seems to be like a fun little play on Lucky Charms, like they're magically delicious. So I want to believe my headcanon as that, maybe they're magically delicious is a Don Draper ad in universe one day. But who knows? Anyway.
I don't know if I really understand the connection you're making here.
They're sinfully delicious.
Sinfully? Oh, okay. Because you were talking about your misunderstanding of the line, not that. So I wasn't sure how that
I moved on.
Applied to Lucky Charms.
You're gonna have to keep up, Will. I'm going from beat to beat over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was a comment. So in the commentaries, there was a little bit of a debate, like which is the better ad, and the consensus between the two tracks was that you could make, like Ben Feldman was like, you could make an argument for either. And then for Weiner, he thinks that the Devil ad is better. So I want to turn it to you boys. Mike, I'm curious. You're an advertising guy. You know your stuff. You know how to sell things. Lickety split.
Yep. I want to just let you know that It's Magically Delicious has been used by Lucky Charms since 1964. Easily putting into the realm of Don Draper being the one to come up with it.
Maybe that's the joke then. He's just like, sinfully delicious. He's like, not that, because he's like, he realizes.
What year are we in?
66.
Yeah, he's okay. That's got to be it, right?
No.
I have such a hard time keeping up what year it is in Mad Men. Not until we land on the moon. That's the only way
You're
I
like,
remember.
is it the... No, that's not right.
Yeah, no. 2012? Maybe not. Twin Towers are still up.
Where's Foreman? Yeah.
No, I mean, Ginsburg. Ginsburg is much better.
I'm Team Ginsburg on this one.
Yeah, hands down.
It's fun. It's what the client actually wanted. I don't get why there's a debate about this. And nobody was leaning toward that one. What's the deal, Will Ashton? Are you going to explain to us why the Devil one was better?
I mean, I think the Devil one obviously is more clever, but the idea is that they're selling it to children, and the Ginsburg pitch is like a more inherent, just sort of goofy, fun thing. Like the Devil's pitch requires a little bit of explanation and a little bit of like, awareness of a turn of phrase and stuff like that I feel like might go over the kids' heads. But at the same time, apparently kids, Devils and cartoons is a big hit, which I don't know how that's really the case. Like, isn't this getting close to like the satanic
you have like
panic?
You have the Tasmanian Devil and
okay.
lighting up the Hays Code around this. I don't know. I kind of buy that.
So I guess the 70s was like the satanic panic hype.
More so, yeah. Like when the music, It was more of a music thing too, right? But
sure.
To your point,
it's music and serial killers, right? I don't think serial killers are very popular yet.
Yeah, they were going to get super popular and beloved later.
Yeah, because I guess the Manson murders was like the late 60s, so that was
C9.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Nice to 69, not to murder,
yeah.
obviously.
To say nice to the murder, not much
Oh,
nice
wow.
to the 69 part.
Oh, okay.
That makes
Well,
sense.
I guess we gotta respectfully agree to disagree. Like Emma Watson talking about J.K. Rowling.
What was that pivot? Like, what,
Jesus Christ.
like
Have you
that's what
not
you
been-
really wanted to talk about this entire time. You're just waiting for your chance.
No, I mean that was a reference to the fact that J.K. Rowling has just been saying some like.
I'm well aware,
obviously-
but
Yeah.
that came out of nowhere. But fine
All right,
enough, fine enough.
let's talk about something a little bit less controversial.
Yeah.
Louis C.K. at the Riot Comedy Festival.
Yeah, I
Thoughts?
mean, I thought that one. I don't know. I mean, I'm not surprised about him. I am surprised about Bill Burr.
Yeah, that is
like,
a surprise. But
I mean, I feel like he should have been maybe more socially aware. Aziz, I'm not surprised about.
Everybody has a price, dude. Everybody wants that oil money.
Well, no, you say that, but Shane Gillis, they doubled the price, and he still said no.
maybe he just didn't feel like going on a trip. Maybe it was something else. But to your point, that is unrelated. Here's my thing, and you guys might disagree. I don't know. I do think that if Don had gone in with both pitches, they would have picked the devil one. I'm almost certain they would have, because I think it is the kind of ad that would appeal to their sensibilities because of the cleverness, and they would have overthought the snowball one, especially because the hit me in the face with snowball is more counterculture. The idea of like showing a cop like getting hit in the face with a snowball is a youthful ad, and it would work better objectively, I think. However, the devil one is going to be more kind of like too cute by half and appeal to this kind of like braininess that I think those executives would have gone for either way. But I think because Don is so petty, and he assumed that because Pete liked the hit me in the face of snowball ad, he assumed that meant something. But you got to remember something about Pete. Bro watches cartoons. Bro daydreams about like somebody showing up to his office, and yeah. So like, of course, Pete would kind of get that. He is ahead of a lot of things, as Don would say. But
I mean, he
Yeah.
certainly has his head somewhere or another.
there you go. Yeah.
How much of that, by the way, like the whole time I'm watching that scene, the fantasy sequence with Alexis Blundell, I'm like, oh, this is a fantasy.
Right. Yeah.
How much of that is a viewer supposed to be aware of it's a fantasy, and how much are we supposed to believe like this is actually happening and we can't believe it?
The commentary, they were like, if you didn't get it at first, I mean, as soon as you see what she's wearing, you should be like, oh, yeah. But also,
Well,
as soon as she says, like, I forgot you, but then I read about you in the New York
Well, yeah,
Times,
that,
which is like my
obviously.
favorite line in the whole episode. I'm sorry. I know that I don't think about you at all is the infamous one, but the way Blundell sells that line is just so good. It gave me such a good laugh every single time.
I do love that in his fantasies, Pete has like porn dialogue. It's like,
Yeah.
what are you doing here?
You can't be here.
Right,
I didn't order a pizza.
right. Why would the plumber come to my office?
Also, so apparently that Sunday Magazine article is real, and New York Times graciously allowed the show to use the replica of it. And Weiner talked about how hard it is to like find copies because it was done in paper. They didn't have like a digital archive version of it apparently. But
So that's why they were so nice to New Yorker cartoons.
well, it's New Yorker's not the New York Times. Well,
Oh, sorry. Okay, never mind. But that
that's
was just
embarrassing.
oh. I thought you said the New Yorker was the one that I guess it
New
was.
York. I said New York Times, baby girl.
Oh, okay. I do think it's funny that they like were like, please let us use this, please let us use this, and then they show in the episodes like, what is this shit?
Oh yeah, that's true. Because he's like, they compare them to philosophers, and that was real. Apparently, they were comparing like these were real life ad executives to like Aristotle and Socrates, which is why I kind of like the line where Ginsberg quotes the Ozymandias poem. Speaking of Breaking Bad, by the way, and Stan's like, you probably want to read the rest of that. It's kind of nice little dressing. Yeah, he did say that. He did say that too. So yeah, that was the ad stuff. Do you guys want to talk about the Weight Watchers part of the episode with Betty? Did you guys miss Betty?
Yeah. No, not even a little.
Yeah, I was okay with. I don't know. I do feel for Betty up until this episode. Betty is pretty intolerable in this one.
Well, like, what about when she's going into the apartment? Did you feel any sympathy for her then? Like, that must suck.
I felt
mean-
jealousy that she got to see Megan.
Well, you did too.
I do like that line that Megan has where it's like, you've gotten to see most of the apartment as a clever, like, she's aware that she got gazed, I guess.
Well, I didn't pick up on that, babe.
Oh, really? I thought that was pretty clever.
I thought she was just remarking on like, oh, it's a small apartment. Like she was trying to be like humble. Like it's not that big.
No, I
so
thought it was-
you don't have reason to be jealous. Yeah.
Because Petty, like, looks bashful after it. So I thought it was kind of supposed to be like,
Well, maybe Betty's thinking that of like, well, she saw the pit. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. That's for sure. I think I might have missed it.
I don't know. I thought that was supposed to be kind of a double on, well, not a
Mike's-
double entendre, but like
Speaking
a
of double
double
entendres, Mike, you got to pick between mine and Will's. It's 2 different ads. One's a devil, one's a policeman, I guess.
I'm gonna go with the one about Garfield on the cross.
Nice.
I do think it is. I mean, to the critics' point, the fact that Don is the literal devil in this is a little on the nose, as well as him being like, "It's so hot in this apartment.
I need a snowball.
The stuff with the Betty, like I think Weight Watchers hits a little bit like home. Like Weight Watchers continues to be a thing, so it's interesting just to see how it's the early days of the housewife and how we used to think about eating and our bodies. That's a conversation that's carried on. But I really do like that at the end of the day, it was her trying to use kids to drive to drive the knife into an ex. And I feel like that is the most common way. It just felt very realistic that that's the way that the pettiness would get brought to life, is trying to turn kids against each other. Like poor helpless Sally, being thrown into the middle of this, and as unwilling, and then at the end, willing as she is to participate in it, it's like just sad.
That did ring
And
true.
Zoller Seiss talks about it a fair bit, but Shipka's acting in this is pretty on point. Like her reaction to discovering the first wife is like believably like intrigued, hurt, confused. Like it's like this understandable mix of emotions that felt very honest to me, especially for a young performer, and especially compared to. I don't mean to put this kid, on trial or
Mason,
anything, but
who plays Bobby?
he unfortunately is not very good in this episode.
I disagree.
Oh, really? I
thought
thought
he was
that
kind
was...
of sheesh.
that was one
I
of the
think he
few
had a nice
things-
little line in there where he was just like, "Yeah, you can check it." I'm like, "Yeah, she can." You
I
tell her,
mean, you
Bobby
just
Five.
get such a nuanced performance from Kieran Shipka, and he's like, "I am the child actor."
Okay, sorry
I
that
think you're being hard.
she's getting acting lessons on and off camera, literally.
Sure.
Sorry
I will
that
say in
he's
the
not
commentary-
getting taught by Megan.
I
will say-
mean,
Go ahead.
I was happy to see baby Jean more than once this episode. That I worry so much about that kid. I don't know if you guys understand that most of the stress of this show for me is just knowing whether or not Jean is still alive. Because they don't even bring him up half the time. They're just like, "How's Sally doing?" or "Bobby's having trouble." And it's like,
Megan will
is
be like,
baby
"You need
Jean
to be nice
alive?
to Jean." Yeah, Megan's like, "You need to be nice to Jean," and Don's like, "Who?"
Right. Well, he just refers to him as the boys.
talking about
It's
Bobby?
like, yeah.
Bobby's right there, Megan. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So I was really happy to see him. I was really happy to see Bert Cooper again as well.
Yeah, Coop is there, and he has his own little kind of fun scenes. Like, "You're divorced already?"
Right. Checking
No,
his
but-
watch.
Yeah, that is great. You know what's funny that you mentioned about Shipka too, because she's really solidified herself. Like she had already, but I think this season is clearly like one of the like core characters at this point. And you can tell in the commentaries that like she's kind of past a milestone as an actor, because in the commentaries for just last year, she was a little bit more meek. She's a kid. She was just a little bit like, I don't really know what to say. I'm just going to try to like talk. And I just want to make sure, she didn't want to disturb the peace, right? She just kind of was happy to be there. But in this commentary, she was like very vocal. She was very like, she didn't have to be prompted all the time by producers, because you don't hear what the producers are saying, but you can tell in the actors' commentary that the producers are trying to get them to talk, because they just end up watching the episode, don't say anything for stretches. But then you hear the actors kind of like answer questions of like, "Oh, I thought this scene kind of," and you're like, "Oh yeah, I know what that is." But with Shipka, a lot of the time, she was a way more kind of articulate, and like she was more insightful than usual. So it was really interesting to hear that for her, because we are watching her grow up on screen.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. And I was going to mention the Weight Watchers thing, and that they did a lot of research to get just to get the period details right. I don't think I really realized until I watched this show for the first time how big of a deal Weight Watchers really was. Like it was around back in the 60s, which to me was like, oh, I remember that as a kid, but like not that it was something that at this point in the show was still kind of relatively small. But they researched a lot of stuff in terms of like all the terms, like the way the meetings go, like all that stuff apparently is like pretty accurate. And so I thought that was kind of a nice touch. And it does stick out in an episode. Like, to me, this almost feels kind of like a season 1 episode in certain stretches, literal stretches, because there's that moment where Don is kind of like stretching and stuff in his office. Reminds me of like that he would do that in season 1, and then him trying to kind of rekindle his like creative spark like he had in season 1. I think it's interesting. I do think it's interesting. The season starts with him turning 40, and so it makes sense that these are things that would be passing through his mind. It's not coming out of nowhere, but it is kind of like, oh, maybe he's having a little bit of a crisis moment. This is something I didn't really pick up on before in previous watches, but just the shaking feeling he probably has from Megan leaving the business and him being like, what is it about advertising she didn't love? And him kind of like struggling with that. And another thing I've been picking up on in terms of like why things went sour with Betty, with Dawn, and like why she must be feeling a certain way about going into that apartment. Betty's probably thinking to herself, like, when Dawn and I got married, I was Megan, I was the young model or whatever, but we did the nuclear family thing. We did the 1950s thing. We moved to Ossining. We got a house. We did all of that. That didn't make Don happy enough. He ended up cheating on me all the time. It sucked. And she's seeing like, well, Megan has this apartment. She has this glamorous lifestyle and she has the kids and stuff. Why didn't I get to have that? And that's like where her jealousy seems to be more based. And so then that question starts to arise of like, what is it? Like, was it like, and Emily St. James brought this up. Like, you have to imagine Betty is thinking to herself, like, was it just me? Was I not good enough? And so we have to put a pin on that, right? Because is that the reason? Which I imagine, Will, you're probably suspecting there's something else going on here, because this is a show always in conversation with the advertising dynamics that Don engages within as a way to find meaning. Yeah.
I mean, I think ultimately it's just a matter of Don not being the same person that he was when he married Betty. Like, he kind of just had the world on his shoulders. Like, he could kind of get away with whatever he wanted. He was fully immersed into the Don Draper persona. And like, that sort of fulfillment wasn't as crucial to him, I think. It kind of is like the guy that Pete talks to on the train, where it's just like a home life for him at that time was something that he just like kind of didn't really take full stock in or didn't really value. It seems like once he got divorced, he kind of realized how pivotal being a married person and an active father was. And it seems like that's kind of why Don's been a slightly better father and also a more attentive husband, I think, with Megan, is because he lost it and now realized how important it is to have it. So I think it kind of it goes outside the margins of Betty, but Betty is someone who is emotionally immature and someone who doesn't really feel grown up in a lot of ways. So I think there's an understandable sort of teenage pettiness that kind of comes out in this whole thing of like her vindictively just telling her daughter about her ex-husband's former marriage in a spiteful, not mature way. Just kind of goes to show that she just doesn't really have that grounding. And I think that kind of goes back to her fraught relationship with her mom and not really understanding that from a young age. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a complicated, jumble of things, I think, going on there for both of them.
Yeah. And I especially like that the show is pretty nuanced about the dynamic between him and Megan just is different. Even that moment where she manages to win an argument with Don, when he's blowing up at her about telling Sally about anything about Anna, really, and not being fair to Megan, because Megan was in a super challenging position. And Megan is able to like basically like show him up and be like, no, this is what's happening. Like, you need to have more self-awareness. And she successfully, like, he calms down and he apologizes. There are like a couple moments like that where like Roger is kind of like that with Jane at a certain point, because Jane is like, you were in this apartment and you didn't have to do this. And then Roger's like, you're right, I did do that. And he kind of owns up to it. Obviously too little too late. But, there is this kind of weird like sincerity that comes out of, these moments that I guess like other shows would have probably opted for them to be more devilish all the way through, but maybe that's the point. I don't know.
I do think it's interesting that with his criticisms, Zoller Seiss kind of talks a lot about some of the clunkiness, but a lot of the actual clunky things I feel like don't really get brought up. And like I said, for me, the stuff that actually feels clunky is like that last line with the smog, and then Roger's last comment to Jane where he's like, "You're right, I feel terrible." Like, that feels more actually like soap opera-y in a bad way to me and didn't really ring true. Like, it felt false in a way that I didn't really buy.
It's almost like this episode is trying to like, because you have the scene with Megan and her friend doing the audition thing, and Megan's making fun of like the soap opera that she wants to be on, the Dark Shadows thing, and then only for her and Dawn to kind of have something that's just as soap operatic later in the episode.
Yeah, a literal secret wife thing that's like classic soap opera.
Yeah.
Do they talk about that in the commentary at all? I was wondering about that.
They didn't really pick up on that. They were kind of just talking about like, how Megan does kind of like clearly seem to have like, there was like some praise for how Jessica Paré is able to like really show her emotion non-verbally, and the distinction between her and a lot of the other characters, which is that a lot of the other characters will be phony, which is the irony of like Sally calling her a phony. Because in that one moment, an exchange she has with her friend, the friend tries to like be like, what should I bring for Thanksgiving, after they just had a row? And Megan's like a little bit more kind of like something sweet. Like you can tell she's like, I don't want to act like everything's fine. But, and then as soon as her friend leaves, she's just like, she just seems to have like a healthier process for processing her emotions, I guess. But I don't know if I'm overselling that, Mike, you've been quiet. I'm a little nervous. I feel like you've been waiting on something. You've been waiting on, some kind of zinger.
Dude.
I was going to bring up the Roger and Jane stuff. I didn't know if you had a thought about that, because I always forget that they bring Jane back so soon after the divorced LSD thing. Did that catch you by surprise too? Like, oh, I just figured she just would be gone.
Yeah, well, Jane is such like a nothing character to me that I feel generally just like surprised she's there anytime she shows up. For me, the part of the Jane and Roger thing I like is it brings me all the way back to like that first season where they have the Jewish client come in, obviously, and so they have to go get someone from the mailroom. And so it does harken back to that and be like, well, look at Roger. He's still pretending like there's more Jewish people, or like he's still using Jewish people to sell to Jewish people, but at least now he has actual employees.
That's true. That's true.
And not someone he doesn't know from the mailroom.
I guess that's growth for him. Yeah, I didn't have too much else. I mean, there was the Peggy stuff. The Peggy stuff is pretty small in this episode. I think it feels a little bit kind of shoehorned in, but I do like that exchange she has with Roger, until he gets to the point where he's like, were we married? And a nice little payoff, like, he's like, I am bankrolling this entire outfit. And that's just been a nice little running gag throughout the whole season. People just demanding money from him, from Harry to Ginsburg to Peggy. Yeah.
I think one of my top 3 favorite lines from the episode is just like, I need to stop carrying so much money with me.
I need to carry less cash. Jessica Paré in the commentary was like, yeah, you need to do that. Also, I learned that Jessica Paré, who plays Megan, is a vegetarian. I didn't realize that until in the commentary. She mentioned it. I forget why, but it got brought up. Was there anything else, guys, that, I think I covered the trivia, the real life smog. Yeah.
Was it brought up because of the Thanksgiving aspect of the episode?
Oh, yeah. Maybe they were talking about, I think they were talking about the steak. And she was like, oh, even I know that the steak is, you need to take that off the, yeah, that's what it was.
I figured it was that or the Weight Watcher thing. There's a lot of eating and wanting to eat in this episode, but not in a sexual way.
Maybe we'll close out with, we talked the meme elevator gag, which, not gag, but the line, and how it is funny to me. And you and Will, I think you've seen this discourse play out before, where people bring up that like it's ironically used because people usually use it as a way to kind of like, it misses the point of it's like.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up for sure. Yeah, I was kind of surprised that, more often not when it's used, they treat it like Dawn's being serious.
Like, Dawn looks cool. He's like, oh, I want to be like Dawn. It's like, not in this scene.
In the meme, you're like supposed to relate to Dawn.
Yeah.
When, obviously, not only in this episode, but the last one, when his like, when he's having that heart to heart with Roger and like talking about Megan about like, I don't get the Beatles or whatever. It's like very apparent that he feels out of touch and out of step with the youth, and it constantly, haunts his thoughts. But yeah, I mean, obviously there was that whole scene with him snooping in the creative's office, but then also, like, even if you just watch that isolated scene, it ends with him looking fraught, like, like thinking about Ginsburg. So it's like, I don't know how
you have the whole thing where like part of the impetus for this is he has that whole, he's like looking at all the different ads. It's like Ginsburg that Joan is showing him. And it's like, clearly it has an effect on him, because I think it's different when it's with Peggy. Peggy is his protege, and I think he feels like he's partly responsible for that work, because without him, she wouldn't have a job. Ginsburg's different. Ginsburg just seems to be like really good at his job, and he doesn't really, like, he didn't learn from Dawn. They hired him on the spot. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that was Dark Shadows. Our next episode, we only have 4 episodes left in the season, but the next one is going to be a Christmas episode because it's episode 10. It's called Christmas Waltz. Makes sense. We just did Thanksgiving. And yeah, this is going to be a Michael Uppendahl directed episode. Until then, though, thank you so much for listening to Mad Men. Very excited that we'll hopefully be finishing up season 5 pretty soon. And then after that, just 2 seasons to go. Are you feeling it, Will? Are you feeling like we have made some real progress on this series? Or are you feeling like, wow, it's like it just started?
I feel like we've been doing this podcast for all of history and time. So I don't feel like it was just yesterday that we started this.
Well, that's not
if
what
anything, I feel like, oh, maybe we'll finish this podcast by 2030 at this rate.
Well, the goal is to like extend it until they finally announce the reboot, so then we can pivot to that.
Oh boy,
would I not want to watch that? Okay, top of your head right now. Who do they cast as Don Draper?
Timothy Chalamet.
Dylan O'Brien, probably.
Somehow
I don't think
Cooper
about Dylan
Hoffman
O'Brien at all.
Would be Burt
But I
Cooper.
do.
Maybe it'd be like the opposite of like Rugrats all grown up. It's like baby Mad Men, and it's all them as like kids in their school.
You're
like
talking
Muppet Babies.
Yeah, Muppet Babies.
Yeah, like
Or
no.
Mad Men Babies.
I mean reverse Rugrats all grown up.
you're talking about. Do you remember the show Little Bush on Comedy Central where it was the? Is that what you're talking about? Like with Don Draper? Okay.
I would watch that.
I feel like Burt
rattle.
Cooper would be the Dick Cheney in that show where he's just like nonverbal and just irrational.
Yeah, but he's not Don Draper yet, so it is just Dick Whitman. He's just so hicky.
He has like a fear of horses, but he doesn't know why. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you on the next Mad Men. Until then, we're going to be reading The New Yorker.